Were you looking at Jeeps?
I was looking at any all-wheel drives.
Bullshit. He tells me you were looking at a Jeep. Then at one point you wanted some type of a truck. He's telling me.
He can't make up his mind. He goes from one thing to the next.
Your father says to me that he shouldn't be going and shopping for a car.
I've said the same thing.
So your dad departed, sir?
Yes.
Okay, know that he's here, and he's actually here with his mother, so that'd have been your grandmother. They're here together.
Wow. Okay.
And your father's coming through because right away he said to me, Matt, I was not supposed to die in this way. And do you know that your father says to me that he is so sorry for the way that you did not get to say goodbye and for the way that you did not get to heal things with him before his departure? Because he says to me, Matt, my son was not expecting me to come through. He wasn't expecting a message, and he did not think he's here for you today, Melissa. He says that because his father's coming through and saying he's here just to be supportive. He would have never believed that I would have come through in a reading. But your dad is here because the first thing that he says to me is, Matt, please tell my son that I'm sorry. When I connect with your father, he tells me, Matt, there was distance between me and my son, and it was all my fault. It was all my fault. He actually tells me, which is interesting, that there was really not a fight with you and him here in this world, but he tells me that he was just absent. It's like he didn't care about what anybody else was doing but himself. Do you understand that?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I see that even though within life, while your dad was living, even though you tried to make it seem like it didn't bother you, it still used to upset you. Like, why won't my dad come around? Why won't he just be here during a holiday? Why can't he just call me on the phone? And he tells me you were so fed up because literally throughout your life, if you wanted to talk to your father, you would have to track him down. And it's like the two of you were living completely separate lives. Your dad says to me this. He says, Matt, please tell my son that I apologize because now that I died, I realized one thing. I realized I didn't know how to be a father. That's what he tells me. And you say that all the time. You always say, oh my God, I never want to be absent from my kid's life like my dad was. I never want to be like my dad. Your dad doesn't fault you for that. Your father says to me, Matt, he says, the one thing that I want to let my son know is that I screwed up because I didn't get to see the person that he was. He goes, I realized when I died, he says, and I got to heaven, I really didn't know anything about my son. But now that he's on the other side, he can see so much about you in spirit. And your dad says, I feel like I'm reliving years that I never got to have with you. Because souls can go back and rewind time and see everything. So is this your wife?
My fiance.
Because he's already calling her your wife. I'm sorry.
Well, she pretty much
No,
is.
it's fine. We've been together for so long.
But what's so sad is that he tells me that even though you've been together for so many years, right, Melissa? He tells me you never really got to know him.
No, I really didn't. It was hard.
So know that one of the things is that your dad tells me this. He says, Matt, I need my son to know that in spirit, he says, I see life in a different way. And your dad tells me, thank God, you always made the right decisions here in life. That's what he wants you to know. He says, because Matt, our family was screwed up, he tells me.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what I'm going to tell you also? He shows me alcoholism running in the family when I'm connecting with him.
My cousin, actually. Yes. Oh, my God. Yes.
It's his way of letting you know this. Your dad says to me, Matt, I see my son and I see all the decisions that he's made. And I want to let him know that all the success that you had in your life is not because of your dad or anyone else but you. And you need to know that. This is interesting. He also says to me, I have to say, congratulations on the new vehicle. So are you getting a new vehicle right now?
I've been looking for cars for the past few months.
He tells me you don't like to spend money. You're cheap. But he says to me, Matt, me and my son were very different. He's a different type of cheap. He says, my son still has his communion money. And when it came to your father was different. Your father did not like to pay his bills here in this world, he tells me. And you know your dad?
Jesus, Mary. Yes.
Your father says to me, he goes, Matt, he goes, I gotta be honest. He goes, I knew, he goes, that one day my family was going to wake up one day when God forbid I died. He says, and realize I never paid a bill in my life because I see him having all of these issues. I don't even think this man paid his taxes because he shows me about having issues with, like, I think his license was suspended, to be honest with you.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he shows me like owing everybody money. Your father says, Matt, he goes, I wish I would have done it my son's way.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, he's also telling me what's going on with you with the cars, because he says to me, Matt, I didn't know he wanted a car. I thought he wanted a Jeep, he's telling me. Were you looking at Jeeps?
I was looking at any all-wheel drive car because
Bullshit. He tells me you were looking at a Jeep. There was something to do. You're obsessed with Jeeps. You don't know what you really want. Then at one point you wanted some type of a truck, he's telling me. Now you think it's not going to be practical. He says to me, we're going through all these things.
Yeah. He can't make up his mind. He goes from one thing to the next.
Your father says to me that he shouldn't be going shopping for a car.
I've said the same thing.
You know what's so funny? Your father does show me car keys being handed over to you. So I do know that you will make a purchase. I don't know what it is. And the reason why your dad's not telling me, right, is that if I tell you what it is that you're going to buy, or your dad tells me, I don't really know. He doesn't tell me. If I told you what you're going to buy, if your dad says, oh, you're going to buy a Jeep Wrangler, you'll go out tomorrow and be like, oh, this is the one.
Probably.
So sometimes souls won't tell us exact things because they don't want to make up our minds for us, right? Because you might end up getting the wrong car or the wrong Jeep Wrangler based on this reading. But I will tell you this. Your father says to me, Matt, he says, I'm so happy that I get to come through my son in this way, because not only do I get to tell him I love him, but your dad also gets to tell you and see you shit your pants, because he tells me that you weren't sure if there was heaven or the afterlife or if anything existed. And your dad's coming through to acknowledge that now.
Oh my God. That's insane.
So know that your dad is acknowledging one thing. He says to me, Matt, even though me and my son didn't get to have the closeness that we should have, he tells me that he is so happy to see the love that you and your mom always carried here in this world, because he's bringing that up.
Yep.
So know that I have to tell you one thing. As much as it is hard for you to think about your dad on the other side, because he tells me there's still these thoughts that haunt you, that come into your head saying like, my dad left this world, my dad died. Did he even know? Did he even know that I was upset? Did he even know how much he hurt me? Did he even know that he caused me pain? Your father's here today to say, I know, and to let you know that he was also truly sorry. And he says to me, Matt, I'm going to be honest with my son. It took death for me to realize this. Because here in this world, my son could have sat me down, duct taped my mouth, talked to me till till he was blue in the face. He said, and I wouldn't have gotten it. I wouldn't have understood. It wasn't until I died that I figured out exactly the pain that I had caused him. So know that your father tells me this. Don't hold on. He says, don't hold up anything in your life. He says, the two of you are crazy about one another. He says, enjoy each other's relationship. He says, get married, do everything that you're planning on doing. And your father says, I don't want him to hold on to that anger from me anymore. He says he can release that and know that I'm there. He also tells me he's got your dog on the other side, by the way, just to let you know.
Oh my God, my old dog that my parents got rid of when I was younger.
Your dad's sorry. He tells me that dog's back with them on the other side.
Oh my God.
So
and
know
her
that
name
soul's
is
also there, 'cause he says
Chichata.
to me, you're never gonna believe that the friggin' dog's here. So know it's his way of bringing that through.
Wow.
Right? I'm gonna leave you with that. I really hope that this helped you.